I love making videos. And even more than that, I love making videos today. I love making videos right here in 2020. The reason I love video making now so much is because the tools have never been so accessible. The barrier to entry is at an all-time low. If all you have is the phone in your pocket and maybe access to a computer, then you have all the tools you need to move people with your storytelling. You can transport your viewers into entirely new worlds, and all from the comfort of your bedroom, or your studio, or, whatever. The point is that you can be anywhere. You can tell stories from anywhere. All you really need is a good idea, or whatever this was.
Whoa!
Oh my god.
Third response was, wait a minute.
What if I did like this, like
Selecting his whole body.
While it is possible to pull off this effect a few different ways, which we'll get into here in a second, it's important to know that this entire technique is as good or as bad as your implementation of that technique. That is to say, it all comes down to your idea. What we want is for you to learn this technique. We want you to practice this now at home so that in the future, as you grow your business, this is just another tool in your toolkit that you can use to help bring your visions to life in order to make better videos. The main way people are familiar with doing something like this is one of these. Oh my gosh, this was so much bigger than I thought it was gonna be. This is a pretty cheap pop-up green screen that a lot of people are familiar with, and these are great tools to have around because if you have something like this, all you really need to do a lot of the time is to grab your chroma key, throw it on the footage, and poof, voila, your surroundings have been deleted. Green screens come with their own complications, especially when you're trying to pull off effects out in the real world. You've got to bring this along with you, and you have to be paying attention to how it's being lit and making sure there's not too much color bleed, green light hitting your face and stuff like that. They are great tools, but not what I want to talk about today. The other technique that I want to talk about, I'm not even going to talk about it because my friend Matthew Paquette made an entire video about this already, and it looks incredibly powerful. I just don't know enough about it right now in order to tell you if it's worth it or not, so I've linked Matthew Paquette's video right here for that. The specific tool we want to talk about today is After Effects' new RotoBrush 2, something that I'm just learning now, but my friends Florence and Christoph have much more experience with it, so here's them.
Well, we were making videos for Instagram because 4 years ago, people weren't used to seeing stuff that was like edited for Instagram. It was like, Instagram is where you like post your meal that you had.
Yeah.
So it was kind of something different. And we kind of like tapped into something that we didn't know was cool.
Yeah.
I had done a couple of these dolly zoom things of like cityscapes and things like that. And I wanted to go get a shot of this crane and I shot it and you were looking at the screen and being like, oh, it'd be so cool if somebody was on the crane.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we were in the parking lot with the same lighting. I felt like if you could recreate the shot perfectly, then I'd be able to rotoscope myself out and put me onto the crane.
To me, it's like if there's no green screen, how do you cut something out?
Yeah, and I was just taking a risk and seeing if we could do it. And I'm glad that we did because then we figured out this awesome technique. I think that shot took me like a whole day to do because I was like frame by frame rotoscoping and it was a lot. Also, the rotoscoping tools back then weren't that great and it took me hours.
And people messaged me when we posted that and said that they were literally like sweating watching it. Everyone thought it was real. Like I think you got messages from like rooftopper people.
They were asking me that and I was like, this is fake. Please don't do it.
I've wanted to experiment with shots like this for quite a long time. But as a Final Cut Pro 10 editor, the tools available to me within the app are just so limited. There is a masking app where you can draw a mask around your objects and then cut it out. But after that, you still have to go frame by frame by frame, moving each individual point. And from there, the only real settings you have to adjust is the amount of feather or Bezier curve on the edges. And while I could go frame by frame and pull off an effect somewhat similar to this, it's hard to put that much effort in when I know that there are newer tools elsewhere that just make that process so much easier.
Technology has come so far. Back in 2015, when Christoph and I were first trying to pull off that effect, rotoscoping was still a baby. But a lot has changed since then. Adobe released Rotoscope 2.0, and this has changed the game. Back when I was a kid, I looked up to special effects artists like Corridor Digital, and I never believed that I could pull off an effect like them. In fact, I still don't think I can pull off effects like them. But recently, Christoph and I attempted this effect once more. A process that used to take hours, if not days, with the new Rotoscope tool has become minutes. So we reapproached this effect with new tools, new cameras, and the result was really exciting. I mean, I posted it on my TikTok and it got over 200,000 views. I actually gained 1,000 followers on TikTok, which I'm really excited about. But the cherry on top is that one of my idols from Corridor Digital actually saw the video.
Ren?
Yeah, it was Ren.
You wanna call him?
What do you mean call him?
Like, let's FaceTime him.
Do you have his number?
Hey, man.
How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Ren, this is Florence. You two have not met.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Florence and Christoph have been making like VFX-y videos together for many years now. So there's one video in particular that, to my knowledge, you saw, where Florence is in like a big yellow trench coat on top of a big brick. Oh,
yes.
you remember
I know the
that?
exact video. You're death-defyingly high up on a giant smokestack thing. Definitely not where you should be climbing.
Did it fool you at any point?
Did we fool you?
Oh, absolutely. At first, I was like, "Wait, what?" I mean, I'm watching it on loop, and when you watch something on loop multiple times, you start figuring it out. But the first time I saw it, I was like, "That is sketch." I don't care how skilled you are. The second response was, "How did you even get up there?" Then the third response was, "Wait a minute."
That's great.
But yeah, Rotobrush 2 I've been very happy with. I've been using that quite a bit over the last, I guess, half year at this point.
All right, okay.
It's good to see your face, too.
Nice to
I'll
see you.
your face.
Nice to meet you.
Bye. That went well.
That went well, yeah.
This video right here is sponsored by Storyblocks. I know you've heard me talk about Storyblocks a bunch in the past, and that's because one, I love them so much, and two, they've been supporting this YouTube channel now for over 2 years, and they have been absolutely fantastic to work with. We use Storyblocks elements on every single video we make. If you don't already know what Storyblocks is, well, let me tell you, it is a fantastic subscription service that has more high quality stock footage than you could ever even look at. The catalog is just massive, mind-bogglingly massive. And what that means is that when we're making videos here, anytime we have like a loose idea, like wouldn't it be cool if, or we forgot that shot, or we can just pull up Storyblocks, type in what we're looking for, and solve the problem right there. Last week I put out a full like photo editing, just sit at the desk tutorial type video. And even in that video, we were able to use Storyblocks elements in order to just make one tiny little joke. Math. Now beyond just having fantastic, super high quality stock footage, they have so much more. They've got After Effects templates, Apple Motion templates if you're into that. They have a fantastic sound library. They've got Chroma and Luma screened graphic elements. They just have so much that you can use in order to help bring your edits to life. So if that's something you're interested, having better videos, then click that link down in the description and find out more. Thank you so much to Storyblocks for always being the greatest.
So let's hop in. We've got our footage and we've got our background plate. Something to keep in mind with your background plate is to try to recreate the same lighting. What we've done is we've put a light behind Jesse, and this will hopefully mimic the same sun direction that we have in our background plate. Now we're using stock footage, so obviously we couldn't be there on set. But if you are in the same location that you're shooting your backdrops on, it's a great idea to get the rotoscoping elements that you want in the same shot. That way you have identical lighting conditions, which just sells the effect so much. Mimicking the light in the studio is doable, but it's a lot more effort. So the safest thing to do is try to shoot your backgrounds and your rotoscoping elements on the same day in the same lighting conditions. Now here we've shot Jesse on a blue backdrop, which isn't necessary, but it will make the effect a lot cleaner. You'll see in the tower video, we tried to have a consistent background color. And this just means that the Rotobrush will have an easier time differentiating you from the background. So it's not necessary, but it is helpful, and it's something to keep in mind when you're on set. So with our layer selected, we're gonna open the Rotobrush tool here and start painting out Jesse. We'll start with his legs and just selecting his whole body, showing the computer what you want it to cut out. And just like that, you can see the computer has figured out where Jesse is and where the background is and separated those two. So as you can see, there's a little bit of blue left underneath his ear. So we'll use the RotoBrush tool, hold Option, and just paint it out. Now our brush is a little too big and we want to get into those details. So hold down Command and click and drag down to reduce the size of your brush. Now hold Option again and paint out those details. Now try to be as detailed as you can on the first frame because that's what's going to be referenced in the following frames. So as we can see here, there's a little bit on his shoulder. We'll just add that in. Just going through and correcting the mask where you see it's made mistakes. A little bit on his hat here as well. All right, so now that we've told the computer what it's looking for, we're gonna go through each frame and it's going to reference the motion and the contrast of the next frame and figure out where the mask needs to go next. So we'll press page down on our keyboard and the next frame is loaded and we see that it's perfectly cut him out once again. So now that the computer recognizes Jesse, we're gonna go through frame by frame, make sure that it recognizes him and clean it up where we need to. Watching the computer do a perfect roto job as I sit back and relax is a dream come true for baby Florence back in 2015 trying to do this by hand every frame. So now that I'm confident in my mask, we're gonna click the little icon down here that says freeze, and that's gonna freeze the mask so that no more changes can happen to it. And now we sit back, let RotoBrush do its thing, and marvel at how amazing the universe is. This is a moment where we can give thanks to our loved ones and our families for believing in us or not believing in us. And it also gives us time to think about birds and wildlife and how it's our job to take care of them. Anyway, looks like it's finished. We've jumped back into our composition. So now in the effects panel, we can finesse our mask, increase the feather, increase the contrast, whatever you need to do to just get those edges looking perfect. So I'm going to boost the feather just a little bit. I'm going to turn on motion blur, and that means that when the mask changes drastically, it's actually blending that and feathering that and making it look really good. We can click decontaminate edge colors, and that just tries to clean up the edges of your mask. I'm just going to shift the edges in a little bit. And that just trims off just that edge of blue. So now we're going to scale Jesse down and try to line him up in the shot in a way that looks good. Bring him here, put him down on these rocks right here. Now in this case, because we shot it in the studio, we might need to do a bit of color correction, but if you shot the same location that you shot your backdrops in, you won't have to do that. So I'm just going to add a little bit of color correction on here. I'm going to make him a little bit smaller. So now we've got him in place, but we have an issue. When we move the playhead around, we see that this background is moving. So we need to track Jesse onto the background, which is super easy. We'll select our background player and just do a simple tracker. We can click track motion. In this case, we don't need to worry about rotation or scale, just a simple position track. So in this case, there isn't much parallax, but if you do have a background shot that does have a lot of parallax, you're gonna wanna track a position that's very close to where your subject's gonna be. In this case, it's these rocks. So I'll bring the tracker point to a high contrast area near the rocks, and I'll play it through and just let it track. Great. Now we'll create a new null object. Now we'll hit Edit Target, select our new null object, hit OK, and we'll click Apply. This will ask us if we want to apply it to the X and Y, just click OK. Now back in our composition, we'll select Jesse, and we'll use the pick whip to parent him to the null object that we just created. So we'll hit play, let it render out, have a little sip. And now it's ready to watch. So now you can see Jesse's tracked to the rocks, he's moving with them, he's integrated into the shot, and it's ready to go. I'm gonna add a little bit of a camera shake and some elements into the foreground and background just to kind of blend things together, and then we have our final shot. So just like that, from the comfort of our studio, we've taken Jesse all over the universe with just a computer and a camera and just a little bit of creativity. And you can do it too. And if you do, maybe you'll go viral. And if you do, don't forget about me. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me. I love you. I'll see you soon. I promise. I promise. I promise I'll see you.
Do just what you